Environmental risk and environmental risk management. The management of environmental risks. The Solomon Fadun, Risk Management of Everything channel, presents Environmental Risk and Environmental Risk Management. The management of environmental risks. Welcome to the Solomon Fadun, Risk Management of Everything channel. On this channel, you will see videos on risk management and the application of risk management to diverse areas and sectors. If you are new here, subscribe to our channel and press the notification button to notify you when we upload new videos. Thank you. This video discusses environmental risk and environmental risk management. It explains the management of environmental risks. In this video, you will understand the meaning of environment, environmental issues, human activities that affect the environment, environmental hazard, types of environmental hazards, environmental challenges, environmental risk, sources of environmental risk, environmental management, the 5 environmental management principles, environmental risk management, components of environmental risk management, benefits of environmental risk management, environmental risk management process, implementation of environmental risk management plan, environmental risk assessment, environmental risk management tools, challenges of environmental risk management, how you can help in environmental management, solutions to environmental issues, environmental risk and the management of environmental risks, effective environmental risk management, and challenges and opportunities of environmental risk management. Now, let us start. Environment. Environment refers to the surroundings in which living organisms exist, including the air, water, land, and the interactions between them. An environment refers to the surroundings in which an organism or system exists, including both living, biotic, and non-living, abiotic, factors. It encompasses both natural elements and human-made structures. It consists of everything from the physical and chemical conditions, for example, air, water, soil, and climate, to the biological organisms, for example, plants, animals, microbes, that interact. Here are some examples of different environments. 1. Terrestrial environments comprise land-based ecosystems like forests, deserts, grasslands, and mountains. 2. Aquatic environments entails water-based ecosystems like oceans, lakes, rivers, and wetlands. 3. Artificial environments include human-made environments like cities, buildings, and agricultural fields. Environmental issues. Environmental issues are the harmful effects of human activities on the environment. These include pollution, overpopulation, waste disposal, climate change, global warming, and the greenhouse effect. Here are some of the current environmental issues that require urgent attention. 1. Climate change. Climate change is an excellent concern in today's scenario. This problem has surfaced in the last few decades. Greenhouse gases are the primary cause of climate change. Environmental changes have several destructive impacts, such as the melting of glaciers, changes in seasons, and epidemics. 2. Global warming. Global warming entails the increase in the Earth's surface temperature. The main factor responsible for global warming is the increase in the level of greenhouse gases, which has led to considerable heating of the Earth. This phenomenon of heating the Earth's surface and atmosphere is known as the greenhouse effect. The greenhouse gases are released from automobile emissions, industries, and fossil fuels. The burning of fossil fuels, emissions from automobiles and chlorofluorocarbons add to the greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. This has led to an increase in the Earth's temperature, causing environmental changes. This increase in temperature across the globe is known as global warming. 3. Ozone layer depletion. The ozone layer is a layer of concentrated ozone gas. It protects us from the sun's harmful ultraviolet rays. This significant layer is being destroyed by CFCs, chlorofluorocarbons, used in industries and everyday life, for example, aerosol cans. The chlorine in these compounds destroys the ozone layer. The hole in the ozone layer leaves humans and wildlife exposed to harmful UV rays, resulting in several skin diseases, including cancer. 4. Water pollution. Water pollution contaminates water bodies, like lakes, rivers, and oceans, with harmful products. The factors responsible for water pollution are agriculture runoff, fertilizers, urbanization, and industrial waste. Introducing harmful substances into rivers, oceans, lakes and ponds, which changes the water's physical, chemical or biological condition, is called water pollution. The polluted water lacks oxygen, and therefore, the organisms die. Water is the primary source of life, and thus, it is our prime duty to protect it from pollution. 5. Air pollution. Air pollution is air contamination with harmful gases, dust, and smoke. Air pollution results from emissions from industries, automobiles, and the increasing use of fossil fuels. Air pollution has a deleterious effect on human health, reduces crop yield, and causes premature death of plants. The gaseous emissions have added to an increase in the temperature of the Earth. Not only this, but it also increases the risk of diseases among individuals. 6. Radioactive waste. Radioactive waste from nuclear power plants and various industrial processes forms a major environmental issue. It can lead to soil and groundwater contamination, posing long-term health risks to humans and ecosystems due to improper storage and disposal. Managing radioactive waste is complex, as it remains hazardous for thousands of years. Safe storage and disposal solutions are essential to prevent environmental damage and potential catastrophic events like nuclear accidents or leakage. Public awareness and strict regulations are critical for addressing this environmental concern. 7. Solid waste management. Solid waste is known as trash or garbage. It includes waste from the home, offices, hospitals and stores. It usually consists of paper, food waste, plastics, glass, metals, rubber, leather, and textiles. The waste is burned to reduce the volume of dumped in sanitary landfills. Solid waste management involves collecting, disposing, and recycling non-liquid materials, including papers, plastics and organic waste, to minimize environmental impacts and promote sustainability. Solid waste management is the discipline associated with the generation, storage, collection, transfer, transport, processing, and disposal of solid waste in a manner that does not harm the environment. Proper management reduces pollution, conserves resources, and mitigates health and environmental hazards. 8. Deforestation. Deforestation is the depletion of trees and forests at an alarming rate. It is the conversion of forested areas to non-forested ones. The trees provide oxygen and several raw materials and maintain the Earth's temperature. Due to the depletion of trees for commercial purposes, there has been a drastic change in the Earth's climate. Forests are an abode to a large number of wild animals and plants. Destruction of forests has led to eliminating many plants and animal species, affecting biodiversity. The growing human population has led to an increase in the conversion of forest land to agricultural land. It results in habitat loss, threatening countless species and biodiversity. Moreover, it contributes to climate change, as forests act as carbon sinks. Soil erosion and disruptions in water cycles are also consequences of deforestation, impacting local and global ecosystems. Sustainable forestry practices and reforestation efforts are essential to mitigate these environmental challenges and preserve the world's forests. 9. Agrochemicals. Agrochemicals, including pesticides and fertilizers, pose significant environmental issues. Their runoff into water bodies can result in water pollution, impacting aquatic ecosystems and human health. Overuse of the chemicals can lead to nutrient imbalances, soil degradation and the loss of beneficial organisms. They disrupt an ecosystem and can harm non-target species. These chemicals can lead to greenhouse gas emissions, which leads to climate change. Addressing these concerns requires sustainable agricultural practices and reduced chemical use. 10. Overpopulation. The Earth's population is increasing drastically. It is estimated to be more than 7 billion. The increasing population has led to a need for more resources. If this continues, sustaining such a vast population will be challenging. The other environmental issues, including pollution, waste management, deforestation, climate change and global warming, are all associated with overpopulation. Having explained environmental issues, discussing human activities that affect the environment is essential. Human activities that affect the environment. It is necessary to understand how our actions shape the world around us, affecting biodiversity, climate, and the availability of resources. Hence, there is a need to explore the intricate relationship between human activities and their profound impact on our beloved environment. Here are some human activities that impact the environment. 1. Deforestation and habitat destruction. Deforestation, the relentless clearing of forests, is one of the most concerning human environmental activities. As we chop down trees to make way for agriculture, infrastructure, and settlements, we disrupt delicate ecosystems and threaten countless plant and animal species. The consequences of deforestation are far-reaching. Biodiversity loss is among the most pressing issues as many species lose their natural habitats, pushing them closer to extinction. Additionally, forests play a crucial role in carbon sequestration, and their destruction contributes significantly to greenhouse gas emissions, further exacerbating climate change. 2. Fossil fuel consumption and greenhouse gas emissions. Our insatiable appetite for fossil fuels, such as coal, oil, and natural gas, drives much of our energy production. However, the combustion of these non-renewable resources releases copious amounts of greenhouse gases, GHGs, into the atmosphere. As these GHGs accumulate, they create a thickening blanket around the Earth, trapping heat and leading to global warming. The consequences are stark, with rising sea levels, more frequent extreme weather events, and disruptions to ecosystems and agriculture. Supposing you are interested in addressing the issue of greenhouse gas emissions and contributing to the shift towards sustainable energy solutions. In that case, there are numerous job opportunities in the field of renewable energy worth exploring. 3. Industrialization and air pollution. The rapid rise of industrialization has undoubtedly fueled economic growth and technological advancements. However, it has also raised a significant environmental concern: air pollution. Industrial activities emit various harmful pollutants, including particulate matter, nitrogen oxides, sulfur dioxide, and volatile organic compounds. These pollutants not only compromise air quality but also contribute to the formation of smog and acid rain. The consequences of air pollution are severe, affecting both human health and the environment. Respiratory problems, cardiovascular diseases, and other health issues are prevalent in areas with high pollution levels. Additionally, acid rain can damage soil, water bodies, and vegetation, causing long-term ecological damage. 4. Agricultural practices and soil degradation. Modern agriculture has undoubtedly enabled us to feed a growing global population but has also taken a toll on our precious soil. Intensive farming practices, such as heavy pesticide and fertilizer use, monoculture, and overgrazing, have led to soil degradation. Soil erosion is a direct consequence of unsustainable agricultural practices, resulting in the loss of fertile topsoil. As a result, soil quality diminishes, impacting crop productivity and the overall health of ecosystems. Moreover, excessive use of chemical fertilizers and pesticides leads to water pollution. These chemicals leach into rivers, lakes, and groundwater, causing harmful effects on aquatic life and posing risks to human health. 5. Water pollution and contamination. Water pollution, a dire consequence of human activities, poses a significant threat to our planet's aquatic ecosystems and human health. Various sources contaminate our water bodies, from industrial discharges to agricultural runoff and improper waste disposal. As pollutants enter rivers, lakes, and oceans, aquatic life suffers immensely. Fish and other aquatic species are adversely affected, and entire ecosystems can collapse. Additionally, contaminated water poses severe health risks to humans who rely on it for drinking, cooking, and bathing. 6. Overfishing and marine ecosystem depletion. Overfishing, driven by the increasing demand for seafood, threatens marine biodiversity and the delicate balance of aquatic ecosystems. As fishing practices become more efficient and industrialized, many fish populations face depletion, pushing them to the brink of collapse. The consequences of overfishing extend beyond the fish species themselves. Marine food chains are disrupted, leading to imbalances in predator-prey relationships and affecting the entire ecosystem. Moreover, many non-target species, known as bycatch, are unintentionally caught and wasted. 7. Waste generation and management. The modern world's consumer-driven lifestyle has led to an alarming surge in waste generation, creating a pressing environmental challenge. From plastic packaging to electronic waste, improper disposal poses significant risks to our planet. Waste in landfills generates greenhouse gases, contributing to climate change. Improperly managed waste can also leach harmful substances into the soil and contaminate water sources, further impacting biodiversity and human health. 8. Urbanization and habitat fragmentation. The rapid expansion of cities and urban areas has reshaped landscapes and posed significant environmental challenges. Urbanization leads to habitat fragmentation, as natural habitats are fragmented and isolated by roads, buildings, and infrastructure. As urban areas grow, wildlife is displaced from their natural habitats, leading to biodiversity loss and potential conflicts between humans and animals. Species that once thrived in diverse ecosystems struggle to adapt to fragmented and altered environments. 9. Consumerism and resource depletion. In a world driven by consumerism, the relentless pursuit of goods takes a toll on the Earth's finite resources. The ever-increasing demand for products like electronics, clothing, and food puts immense pressure on natural resources and ecosystems. Extracting non-renewable resources, such as fossil fuels and minerals, depletes these valuable assets, leading to environmental degradation and irreversible damage to ecosystems. Additionally, excessive consumption contributes to waste generation, pollution, and greenhouse gas emissions. 10. Climate change and global impact. Climate change, driven primarily by human activities, is one of our time's most critical environmental challenges. Burning fossil fuels, deforestation, industrial emissions, and other human activities release greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, leading to a warming planet. The consequences of climate change are far-reaching and affect every corner of the globe. Rising temperatures result in melting ice caps, leading to rising sea levels and threatening coastal communities. Extreme weather events, such as hurricanes, droughts, and heat waves, become more frequent and severe, causing widespread devastation. Moreover, climate change disrupts ecosystems, leading to species migrations and altering the delicate balance of nature. Agricultural productivity is affected, impacting food security for millions of people worldwide. Environmental hazard. An environmental hazard is a substance, state or event which has the potential to threaten the surrounding natural environment or adversely affect people's health, including pollution and natural disasters such as storms and earthquakes. It can include any single or combination of toxic chemical, biological, or physical agents in the environment resulting from human activities or natural processes that may impact the health of exposed subjects, including pollutants such as heavy metals, pesticides, biological contaminants, toxic waste, and industrial and home chemicals. Human-made hazards are not immediately health-threatening but may eventually be detrimental to a human's well-being because environmental deterioration can produce secondary, unwanted adverse effects on the human ecosphere. The effects of water pollution may not be immediately visible because of a sewage system that helps drain off toxic substances. However, if those substances become persistent, for example, persistent organic pollutants, they will be fed back to their producers via the food chain. Next, let us discuss the types of environmental hazards. Types of environmental hazards. Environmental hazards can be a single factor or a combination of factors, and they can be natural or human-made. Natural hazards, these occur without human intervention, such as volcanic eruptions, floods, hurricanes, and earthquakes. Human-made hazards, these are caused by human activities, such as chemical spills, industrial waste, air pollution, and nuclear accidents. Environmental hazards can be categorized into four: chemical, physical, biological, and psychological. 1. Chemical hazards. Chemical hazards are substances that can cause harm or damage to humans, animals, or the environment. They can be solids, liquids, gases, mists, dust, fumes, and vapors. Exposure can occur through inhalation, skin absorption, ingestion, or direct contact. Chemical hazards include pesticides, solvents, acids, bases, reactive metals, and poisonous gases. Exposure to these substances can result in health effects such as skin irritation, respiratory problems, organ damage, neurological effects, and cancer. 2. Physical hazards. Physical hazards are environmental factors that can harm the body without necessarily touching it. They include environmental factors such as noise, vibration, extreme temperatures, radiation, and ergonomic hazards. Physical hazards may lead to injuries like burns, fractures, hearing loss, vision impairment, or other bodily harm. They can be present in many work settings, such as construction sites, manufacturing plants, and office spaces. 3. Biological hazards. Biological hazards, also known as biohazards, are organic substances that threaten the health of living organisms, primarily humans. This can include medical waste, microorganism samples, viruses, or toxins, from a biological source, that can impact human health. Biological hazards can also include substances harmful to animals. Examples of biological hazards include bacteria, viruses, fungi, other microorganisms and their associated toxins. They may cause many diseases, from flu to more severe and potentially fatal diseases. 4. Psychological hazards. Psychological hazards are aspects of work and work environments that can cause psychological harm or mental ill health. These include factors such as stress, workplace bullying, fatigue, burnout, and violence, among others. These hazards can lead to psychological issues like anxiety, depression, and post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. Psychological hazards can exist in any workplace, and their management is crucial to occupational health and safety. Environmental hazards constitute environmental challenges. Hence, it is essential to discuss environmental challenges. Environmental challenges. Environmental challenges are issues that pose significant threats to the well-being of the planet and its ecosystems. The various challenges are: 1. The release of harmful substances into the environment, such as air pollution from industrial emissions and vehicle exhaust, water pollution from industrial and agricultural runoff, and plastic pollution in oceans. 2. Overpopulation is one of the critical environmental issues, as the world's population has tripled in the past 6 decades. This strains the environment due to increased food demand, land development and urbanization. 3. The Earth's climate is increasing due to greenhouse gas emissions, leading to extreme weather events and rising sea levels. 4. There is rapid extinction due to pollution, habitat destruction, overexploitation, and the introduction of invasive species. 5. The large-scale removal of forests for agriculture, logging, and urban development, leading to habitat loss, reduced carbon storage, and changes in local and global climates. 6. The thinning of the ozone layer due to the release of ozone-depleting substances can increase exposure to harmful UV radiation. 7. The improper disposal and accumulation of solid and hazardous waste can lead to pollution and health hazards. And 8. A growing global population's strain on resources and ecosystems increases food, water, and energy demand. Having explained environmental challenges, we now discuss environmental risk supported with practical examples. Environmental risk. An environmental risk is the likelihood of environmental harm or damage caused by human activities or natural processes. Environmental risks are potential threats to the health and sustainability of the environment, which can significantly impact ecosystems, human health, and the overall well-being of the planet. These risks can have negative consequences for human health, ecological systems, and the overall well-being of the Earth. Here are some examples of environmental risks. 1. Climate change, the long-term alteration of temperature and typical weather patterns in a place. Climate change could raise sea levels, create more extreme weather events, and cause plant and animal life changes. 2. Pollution, the introduction of harmful substances or elements into the environment, which can be caused by human activities like industrial waste, vehicle emissions, and agricultural runoff. Pollution can contaminate air, water, and soil, harming ecosystems and human health. 3. Deforestation, the permanent removal of trees to make room for something else, such as agriculture, livestock grazing, or urbanization. Deforestation can lead to soil erosion, biodiversity loss, and climate change. 4. Habitat loss, the destruction or degradation of natural habitats can displace or harm plants and animals. Habitat loss can be caused by deforestation, development, and pollution. 5. Overexploitation, the excessive use of a resource, such as water, fish, or forests, beyond its capacity to replenish itself. Overexploitation can lead to depletion of resources and harm to ecosystems. Having explained environmental risk, it is necessary to examine the sources of environmental risk. Sources of environmental risk. While there are many ways to evaluate risks, here are some sources of environmental risk. 1. Physical environment. Geological and climatic risks arise from the physical environment. Examples of physical environmental sources of risk include wildfires, floods, snowfall, temperature and drought. 2. Social environment. Consumers' changing tastes and preferences, morals/values, and demographic factors can all give rise to risks. Examples of social and environmental sources of risk may involve changing its targeted clientele from an all-boys camp to a boys and girls camp program to increase revenue. 3. Political environment. Political institutions and decisions create responsibilities, interests, and expectations that produce risk. For instance, certifying organizations may set strict standards and expectations that need attention and compliance. 4. Legal environment. The formalized legal system establishes rights and duties that create risk for organizations. A prime example of a legal environment source of risk involves the recent change of statute of limitations in many states, allowing victims of sexual assault to file claims many years later. 5. Economic environment. While often influenced by the political, social, and legal environments, the global economic system has a degree of independence that warrants separate analysis. An example of an economic environment source of risk might be hiring international staff. Understanding their different cultures and beliefs can help support a positive camp experience. 6. Operational environment. How an organization goes about its work gives rise to a wide range of risks, most of which are influenced by the other environments. 7. Cognitive environment. The cognitive environment refers to the mind. A manager's knowledge may be influenced by the absence of information, attitude toward risk, misinformation, or even mental limitations, which can increase risk and uncertainty. Next, let us discuss environmental management. Environmental management. Environmental management is a multifaceted and multidisciplinary practice that safeguards nature from potentially damaging business operations. It involves implementing strategies to conserve resources such as energy or water and reduce the negative environmental impacts of industrial activities. Environmental management is the framework and processes that we put in place to understand what is causing an effect on the environment from what we do, the aspects, such as driving vehicles and extracting materials, and what the impact on the environment is as a consequence, on the soil, air, water, atmosphere and biodiversity. It is then about implementing plans to reduce or eliminate the negative and maximize the positive impacts. Good environmental management helps limit costs, lower energy bills, lower waste treatment costs and increased gains from recovery, which, in turn, maximize human benefit. It's about constructing a win-win situation, benefiting the economy and the environment. It comes down to how we use these resources and sustain their use. Common examples of environmental management might be to have systems in place to control and prevent pollution, such as effluents getting into a river course, or implementing a biodiversity program to ensure that the flora and fauna of an area are enhanced once a project has been completed. Often, the need for a robust environmental management system is driven by statutory requirements, such as air quality and water effluent limits. Still, more forward-thinking organizations are increasingly setting the bar higher. Key environmental management terms include environmental aspect and environmental impact. The environmental aspect is an element of an organization's activities, products or services that interacts or can interact with the environment. On the other hand, environmental impact refers to a change to the environment, whether adverse or beneficial, wholly or partially resulting from an organization's environmental aspects. The 5 environmental management principles. There are 5 environmental management principles, including the prevention, precautionary, integration, polluter pays, and management of environmental damage at the source. Let us explain these 5 principles of environmental management. 1. Prevention principle. Governments should take preventive measures to anticipate and avoid environmental damage before it occurs. For instance, a nuclear facility should install a detoxification plant at its premises to rid the wastewater of toxins before it releases the water to nearby sources. Similarly, they can reuse the water to cool the reactors, preventing further extraction from natural sources. 2. Precautionary principle. Authorities should implement safeguards before environmental harm materializes. It involves having an adequate risk management system to minimize environmental damage. For instance, the German and Peruvian governments have a moratorium on cultivating genetically modified organisms, given that there is insufficient scientific evidence on their effects on the ecosystem and public health. 3. Integration principle. Every government and organization should have an environmental management policy. This is crucial in ensuring sustainable development across all areas. For instance, an organization must assess environmental impact before building a dam. This may require the company to consult the local community, local council, and authorized agents to determine if your project will adversely affect the local ecosystem. 4. Polluter pays. The party that causes pollution should bear the costs of the damage and its remedy. This principle acts as a deterrent and directs accountability for the harm, which is crucial in environmental management. For instance, in December 2021, a Dutch court ordered Shell to pay £13.29 million to 3 Nigerian farmers for oil spills in their village between 2004 and 2007. 5. Management of environmental damage at the source. The principle ensures that all cleanup and restoration efforts occur at the source. This minimizes the effects of pollution and overall costs. For instance, a company can implement a biodiversity program to rejuvenate the area's ecosystem after the completion of the mining project. The above principles work simultaneously to ensure high environmental management standards. All governments and organizations are equally committed to providing a sustainable Earth. Having explained the 5 environmental management principles, let us discuss environmental risk management. Environmental risk management. Environmental risk management identifies, assesses, reduces, monitors, and communicates environmental risks and hazards. It is an essential component of environmental stewardship and helps to ensure that environmental impacts are minimized and that stakeholders are aware of potential risks. Organizations can reduce the potential for ecological harm through risk assessment and risk reduction strategies and ensure that their activities comply with environmental regulations. Managing environmental risk is a central part of responsible property management. Environmental risks can be harmful and positive, opportunities, and involve potential legal, financial and reputation impacts. Environmental risk management is an increasingly complex and perplexing field of study, striving to identify, assess, and mitigate the potential risks posed by environmental hazards. It involves analyzing environmental risks, developing strategies to reduce them, and establishing monitoring and tracking systems over time. Managing environmental risk involves understanding the environment-related risks relating to a property or across a portfolio and implementing a rigorous control strategy. It is crucial that clear responsibilities are identified for managing environmental risk and that appropriate training is provided. Risks must be managed within a proper governance framework for effective monitoring and reporting. Components of environmental risk management. Environmental risk management, ERM, is the systematic process of identifying, assessing, and controlling the potential harm human activities or natural processes pose to the environment. It's all about proactively managing environmental risks to minimize negative impacts on ecosystems, human health, and the overall well-being of the planet. Here are the major components of environmental risk management. 1. Risk assessment, identifying and assessing environmental risks and hazards that could cause harm. 2. Risk reduction, reducing the likelihood and consequences of environmental risks and hazards. 3. Risk monitoring, collecting and monitoring data to adequately manage environmental risks and hazards. 4. Risk communication, effectively communicating ecological risks and hazards to stakeholders to ensure understanding and compliance. 5. Risk management, developing and implementing policies, procedures, and plans to address and manage environmental risks and hazards. 6. Liability management, controlling liability associated with environmental risks and hazards. Benefits of environmental risk management. Here are some of the benefits of environmental risk management. 1. Improved compliance with environmental regulations. Environmental risk management helps organizations identify and address potential legal compliance issues before becoming costly liabilities. 2. Enhanced sustainability. By proactively managing environmental risks, organizations can reduce their ecological footprint and become more sustainable. 3. Improved public image. An effective environmental risk management plan can help organizations improve their public image by showing that they take their environmental responsibilities seriously. 4. Increased efficiency. Environmental risk management can help organizations identify and reduce wasteful practices that increase operational costs. 5. Reduced financial loss. Organizations can avoid costly fines and other financial losses associated with environmental damage or pollution by controlling and mitigating potential ecological risks. 6. Safer workplace. Organizations can create a safer workplace for their employees and the public by addressing potential environmental risks. Environmental risk management process. Environmental risk management is a systematic process of identifying, assessing, prioritizing, and mitigating potential environmental threats. It involves understanding the impact of human activities on ecosystems and developing strategies to minimize negative consequences. Here are the critical steps in environmental risk management. Step 1: Identification of risks. This step involves identifying and recognizing potential environmental risks associated with human activities. This can include activities like industrial processes, construction projects, waste disposal, or any other actions that may negatively impact the environment. A good example is a chemical manufacturing plant that identifies the release of pollutants into the air and water as potential risks associated with its production processes. Step 2: Risk assessment. Risk assessment involves evaluating the likelihood and severity of identified risks. It considers factors such as the activity's scale, the environment's sensitivity, and potential consequences. For instance, a construction project assesses the potential impact of soil erosion and habitat destruction on a nearby wetland. The assessment considers project scale, construction methods, and possible mitigation measures. Step 3: Risk prioritization. After assessing risks, they are prioritized based on their potential impact and likelihood. This step helps focus resources on addressing the most significant and probable environmental risks. A government environmental agency might prioritize addressing a major oil spill in a river over a less severe issue related to noise pollution. Step 4: Mitigation strategies. This step involves developing and implementing measures to reduce or eliminate the identified environmental risks. Mitigation strategies aim to minimize the negative impacts of human activities on the environment. An agricultural operation implements sustainable farming practices, such as crop rotation and reduced pesticide use, to mitigate soil erosion and water pollution risks. Step 5: Monitoring and control. Continuous monitoring of activities and their environmental impact is crucial. Control measures are implemented to ensure the identified risks are effectively managed, and activities comply with environmental standards and regulations. For instance, a power plant regularly monitors emissions and invests in advanced pollution control technologies to ensure compliance with air quality standards. Step 6: Compliance with regulations. Explanation: Adherence to environmental regulations is vital for managing risks. This ensures that all activities comply with local, national, and international environmental laws and standards. For instance, a chemical manufacturing company strictly follows regulations regarding storing and disposing of hazardous materials to prevent soil and water contamination. Step 7: Emergency response planning. Developing and implementing emergency response plans is essential for addressing unforeseen environmental incidents. These plans outline procedures for immediate response and containment of environmental emergencies. For instance, an oil refinery may establish a comprehensive emergency response plan to address an oil spill's potential risk, including containment protocols and coordination with local authorities. Step 8: Stakeholder engagement. Involving and communicating with stakeholders, such as local communities, environmental NGOs, and regulatory bodies, helps gather input, address concerns, and create a more inclusive and effective risk management plan. For instance, a mining company engages with local communities to address problems related to habitat destruction and water contamination, incorporating community input into its risk management strategies. Step 9: Sustainable practices. Implementing sustainable practices involves incorporating environmentally friendly methods into operations to reduce the overall ecological footprint and mitigate environmental risks associated with resource extraction and use. For instance, a forestry company adopts sustainable logging practices, including selective cutting and reforestation efforts, to reduce the impact of deforestation on biodiversity and ecosystems. Step 10: Investment in renewable technologies. Investing in renewable energy sources helps mitigate environmental risks associated with fossil fuels. This step supports the transition toward cleaner and more sustainable energy alternatives. For instance, a city invests in solar and wind power to reduce its reliance on fossil fuels, contributing to mitigating environmental risks associated with greenhouse gas emissions. 11. Educational initiatives. Raising awareness and educating the public about responsible environmental practices is crucial. This step encourages individuals and communities to participate in sustainable behaviors and reduces environmental risks associated with ignorance or negligence. A good example is an environmental organization that conducts awareness campaigns on responsible waste disposal, reducing, reuse, and recycling principles to minimize the environmental risks associated with improper waste management. Environmental risk management is an ongoing and adaptive process requiring collaboration among various stakeholders to address current and emerging challenges for the sustainable well-being of the planet. Let us discuss the implementation of an environmental risk management plan. Implementation of environmental risk management plan. Environmental risk management is an integral part of running a successful business. It is a process of identifying, analyzing, controlling and mitigating risks related to the environment, such as air and water pollution, hazardous waste, and energy use. By implementing an environmental risk management plan, businesses can help protect their operations and employees, reduce costs, and demonstrate a commitment to sustainability. This plan should include identifying and analyzing environmental risks, developing a risk management plan, monitoring and reviewing progress, training employees, setting targets, communicating, and reviewing and revising. The key steps involve: 1. Identify environmental risks. Evaluate and identify potential environmental risks associated with the business activities. 2. Analyze environmental risks, assess the likelihood and severity of the identified risks and develop a plan for reducing or eliminating them. 3. Developing a risk management plan. Create a plan that outlines how to manage the identified risks, including preventative measures, safety protocols, and response procedures in an emergency. 4. Training employees. Ensure all employees know the risk management plan and understand their roles and responsibilities. 5. Setting targets. Set targets to reduce environmental risks and monitor progress towards achieving them. 6. Communicate, share information with relevant stakeholders, including customers, suppliers, and the local community. 7. Monitor and review. Monitor and review the effectiveness of the risk management plan regularly and update it if necessary. It is essential to periodically review and change the risk management plan to ensure it is current with the business's operations. Environmental risk assessment. Environmental risk assessment, ERA, is a systematic process used to evaluate potential adverse effects of human activities on the environment. It involves identifying, quantifying, and assessing the risks associated with specific activities, substances, or projects. The goal is to provide a basis for informed decision-making and developing strategies to manage or mitigate environmental risks. The process of assessing potential environmental harm caused by a substance, activity or natural occurrence. Environmental risk assessment, ERA, is a process used to evaluate the possible impacts of a proposed project or activity on the environment. It is a systematic and scientifically based approach that involves identifying and assessing the potential environmental risks, gathering and analyzing information about the environmental effects of the system under study, evaluating their likelihood and severity, and taking measures to mitigate or avoid those risks. Here are the critical steps involved in environmental risk assessment, ERA. 1. Problem formulation. This is the most critical step where risk managers define the scope of an ERA by identifying what needs to be protected from harm. This step defines the specific goals and scope of the risk assessment. This includes identifying the stressors, including chemicals and activities, receptors, organisms, ecosystems, and pathways through which stressors might affect receptors. While conducting a risk assessment for a new industrial facility, problem formulation would involve specifying the pollutants released, potentially impacted ecosystems, and exposure-free pathways like air or water dispersion. 2. Hazard identification. This step involves a detailed examination of the potential hazards associated with the identified stressors. It includes understanding the toxicological properties, persistence, and potential for bioaccumulation of the stressors. In the case of a chemical spill risk assessment, hazard identification would involve determining the toxic properties of the spilled chemical and its potential impacts on aquatic life. For a pesticide risk assessment, hazard identification might include evaluating the toxicity of the pesticide to non-target species, its breakdown products, and the potential for ecological harm. 3. Exposure assessment. This ensures the evaluation of the stressors' pathways and extent of exposure, including how they interact with the environment and receptors. Exposure assessment involves determining how much of the stressor reaches the receptors and understanding the pathways through which exposure occurs. It considers emission rates, dispersion patterns, and environmental fate. In an air pollution risk assessment, exposure assessment would consider emissions from industrial sources, dispersion patterns, and potential impacts on human health and ecosystems. In a water pollution risk assessment, exposure assessment would involve modeling the transport of pollutants from a point source, for example, industrial discharge, and assessing concentrations in receiving water bodies. 4. Risk characterization. This helps examine the potential environmental hazards in the workplace and identify what and who is at risk. This step combines hazard identification and exposure assessment information to quantify the risk. It involves synthesizing data to estimate the probability and magnitude of adverse effects on receptors. Risk characterization would involve integrating data on gene flow probabilities, potential ecological impacts, and the sensitivity of local ecosystems to assess the risk of introducing a genetically modified organism into the environment. 5. Uncertainty analysis. This facilitates identifying and quantifying uncertainties associated with the data, models, and assumptions used in the risk assessment. Uncertainty analysis explores the limitations and variability in the available data and models. It helps decision-makers understand the reliability and robustness of the risk assessment results. In a climate change risk assessment, uncertainty analysis might involve exploring different emission scenarios, climate models, and assumptions to identify key sources of uncertainty in predicting future climate impacts. 6. Risk evaluation. This is necessary to evaluate the significance of the identified risks in the context of management goals, regulatory criteria, and societal values. This step involves interpreting the importance of the identified risks in the context of management goals, regulations, and societal values. It helps prioritize risks and determine if they are acceptable or require further action. For a land development project, risk evaluation would involve comparing potential impacts on biodiversity with local conservation goals and land use regulations to assess whether the project aligns with environmental objectives. 7. Communication of results. Effectively communicate the risk assessment findings to stakeholders, decision-makers, and the public, ensuring transparency and understanding. Effective communication ensures that all stakeholders understand the risk assessment findings. Clear and transparent communication fosters informed decision-making. After a risk assessment for a new chemical plant, communicating results would involve presenting the findings to local communities, regulatory agencies, and environmental groups and explaining potential risks and mitigation measures. 8. Risk management. Develop and implement strategies to manage or mitigate the identified risks, considering the risk assessment findings. Risk management strategies are developed and implemented based on the risk assessment results to prevent or minimize adverse environmental effects. Risk management might involve habitat restoration, relocation of affected species, or implementing protective measures during construction in a biodiversity risk assessment related to a construction project. In a transportation project, risk management might include implementing measures to minimize habitat disturbance, such as constructing wildlife corridors or using elevated roadways to reduce impacts on ecosystems. 9. Follow-up and monitoring. Establish a system for ongoing monitoring and follow-up to assess the effectiveness of risk management measures and update the risk assessment as needed. Establishing a monitoring program is essential to track the effectiveness of risk management measures and assess whether the predicted outcomes align with actual environmental conditions. Following a risk assessment for a mining operation, ongoing monitoring might involve regular evaluations of water quality, soil health, and biodiversity in the affected area to ensure that environmental impacts are within acceptable limits. After a chemical spill risk assessment, continuous monitoring of the affected area may be necessary to track the recovery of ecosystems and assess the persistence of contaminants. 10. Adaptive management. Integrate an adaptive management approach that adjusts risk management strategies based on new information and changing circumstances. An adaptive management approach allows flexibility in response to changing conditions or new information. It ensures that risk management strategies can be adjusted based on monitoring results and emerging knowledge. In a forestry management risk assessment, adaptive management might involve modifying logging practices based on new information about the habitat preferences of endangered species or changes in ecosystem dynamics. Environmental risk assessment is a dynamic and iterative process, and the thorough execution of these steps ensures a comprehensive understanding of potential risks and effective strategies for environmental protection and sustainable development. Each step in the environmental risk assessment process contributes to a comprehensive understanding of possible environmental risks and informs decision-making processes to safeguard the environment. Practical application of these steps ensures a thorough evaluation of risks associated with various human activities, allowing for developing effective and sustainable risk management strategies. Environmental risk management tools. Environmental risk management tools refer to various methods, techniques, and instruments used to identify, assess, control, and monitor environmental risks associated with human activities. Environmental tools are tools used to evaluate the environmental impacts of specific activities and help inform decisions about how to mitigate those impacts. These tools range from environmental impact assessments and risk maps to ecological monitoring and audits. They can help identify potential environmental risks associated with a project or activity, provide information about environmental regulations and standards, and facilitate decision-making related to environmental management. Environmental tools can ensure that projects are designed and implemented in a way that minimizes negative environmental impacts. These tools are essential for organizations, industries, governments, and other stakeholders to make informed decisions, implement effective strategies, and ensure the sustainable use of natural resources while minimizing adverse environmental impacts. Here are some types of environmental risk management tools, along with explanations. 1. Environmental impact assessment. Environmental impact assessment, EIA, is a systematic process for evaluating the potential environmental effects of proposed projects or activities before they are carried out. It helps identify and mitigate potential risks by assessing the likely impacts on ecosystems, human health, and socio-economic conditions. Before constructing a new dam, an EIA would evaluate the possible effects on river ecosystems, local communities, and water quality. 2. Life cycle assessment. Life cycle assessment, LCA, is a comprehensive method for evaluating the environmental impacts of a product, process, or service throughout its entire life cycle, from raw material extraction to disposal. It helps identify and prioritize areas for improvement in terms of environmental performance. LCA can assess a product's environmental footprint, such as a smartphone, considering the extraction of raw materials, manufacturing processes, transportation, and disposal. 3. Environmental management systems. Environmental management systems, EMS, is a structured framework that helps organizations manage their environmental responsibilities. It involves setting policies, planning activities, implementing procedures, monitoring performance, and continuously improving environmental performance. Implementing an ISO 14001 certified EMS helps a manufacturing facility systematically manage its environmental aspects, such as energy use and waste generation. 4. Risk assessment and risk mapping. Risk assessment tools evaluate the likelihood and consequences of potential environmental risks. Risk mapping involves visually representing spatial data related to environmental hazards and identifying high-risk areas. Environmental risk maps are maps identifying areas at risk for specific environmental hazards, such as floods, landslides, hurricanes, and earthquakes. They can help inform decisions about land use and development in those areas, as well as emergency preparedness and response planning. Risk maps often combine data from multiple sources, such as historical records and geospatial analysis, to provide an accurate picture of the risk associated with a particular area. In the context of a chemical storage facility, risk assessment tools can evaluate the potential for spills, and risk maps can highlight areas vulnerable to contamination. 5. Environmental modeling. Environmental modeling involves using mathematical and computer-based models to simulate and predict the behavior of environmental systems. Models can help assess the impact of pollutants, changes in land use, or climate scenarios. Modeling can be applied to predict the dispersion of air pollutants from an industrial stack or simulate the impact of land use changes on water runoff in a watershed. 6. Environmental auditing. An environmental audit assesses a company's environmental performance and compliance with relevant environmental regulations. An ecological audit typically involves a review of the company's practices, policies, and procedures related to the environment, as well as an assessment of the potential environmental impacts of its activities. The goal of an environmental audit is to ensure that the company is aware of and compliant with applicable environmental regulations and taking adequate steps to protect the environment. 7. Financial risk analysis. Financial risk analysis assesses the economic implications of environmental risks. It helps organizations understand the potential financial losses associated with environmental incidents. A financial risk analysis might be conducted to estimate the costs of cleaning up an oil spill or the economic impact of regulatory fines. 8. Regulatory compliance tools. These tools help organizations track and ensure compliance with environmental regulations. They provide information on applicable laws, permit requirements, and reporting obligations. A regulatory compliance tool can assist a manufacturing plant in understanding and adhering to emissions standards, waste disposal regulations, and other legal requirements. 9. Remote sensing and geographic information systems. Remote sensing and geographic information systems, GIS, technologies enable the collection, analysis, and visualization of spatial data related to the environment. These tools are valuable for mapping and monitoring environmental changes. GIS can map land use changes, deforestation, or pollution sources, providing a spatial perspective for better decision-making. 10. Early warning systems. Early warning systems provide timely information about potential environmental hazards or emerging risks, allowing for proactive measures to mitigate or respond to the threats. In the case of a river basin, an early warning system could monitor rainfall patterns and issue alerts for potential flooding, enabling communities to take preventive actions. 11. Scenario analysis. Scenario analysis involves evaluating potential future developments and their impact on the environment. It helps organizations and policymakers plan for various possible futures. For a city's urban planning, scenario analysis can assess the environmental consequences of different development scenarios, considering population growth, transportation systems, and land use. These tools can be used individually or in combination, depending on the nature of the environmental risk and the specific needs of the organization or project. Integrating multiple tools often provides a more comprehensive understanding of environmental risks and facilitates effective risk management strategies. 12. Risk management software. Risk management software is an application designed to help organizations identify, analyze, prioritize, and manage risks to protect against potential losses or harm. The software typically includes risk assessment, tracking, reporting, control, and mitigation features. It may also include risk modeling, decision-making, and compliance management features. Risk management software is used in various industries and organizations, including finance, healthcare, manufacturing, and government. Challenges of environmental risk management. While environmental risk management, ERM, offers countless benefits in protecting the environment, it faces diverse challenges. Here are some key obstacles to consider. 1. Inadequate resources. Implementing ERM requires significant personnel, technology, and training investments. This includes inadequate personnel, budget, technology, and a lack of detailed knowledge about the company's operations. Budget constraints, particularly in small organizations or public entities, can limit the resources available for effective risk management. 2. Complex and evolving regulations. Navigating the intricate web of environmental regulations is a constant challenge, especially with frequent updates and variations across different jurisdictions. Staying compliant requires dedicated effort and expertise. 3. Uncertainty and incomplete data. Environmental systems are complex and dynamic, making it difficult to predict risks completely. It can be difficult to accurately predict environmental hazards and their potential effects, making it difficult to assess and manage them properly. Limited data availability or gaps in knowledge can further cloud risk assessment and management strategies. 4. Short-term thinking. Many organizations focus on short-term gains instead of long-term sustainability, leading to environmental risks needing to be noticed or addressed. Pressure for immediate profits or operational efficiency can lead to prioritizing short-term gains over long-term environmental stewardship. Investing in ERM might be perceived as an added cost with delayed benefits. 5. Silos and communication gaps. Effective ERM relies on collaboration and information sharing across departments within an organization and with external stakeholders. Communication gaps between teams or limited engagement with the public can hinder effective risk management. Proper communication between departments ensures that everyone is on the same page and understands the importance of environmental risk management. 6. Lack of awareness and commitment. Insufficient understanding of environmental issues and their long-term implications can lead to apathy or resistance towards implementing ERM practices. Cultivating a culture of environmental responsibility is crucial. 7. External pressures and market forces. External pressures from competitors, market volatility, or political agendas can push organizations to prioritize short-term economic goals over environmental considerations, making robust ERM challenging. 8. Climate change and emerging risks. The accelerating pace of climate change and the emergence of new environmental threats require dynamic adaptation and continuous re-evaluation of risk management strategies. 9. Measuring and quantifying impacts. Attributing specific environmental impacts to particular activities can be complex, making it difficult to accurately measure the effectiveness of ERM initiatives and justify further resource allocation. 10. Enforcement and accountability. The effectiveness of ERM ultimately depends on enforcement mechanisms and holding polluters accountable for environmental damage. Weak enforcement or inadequate penalties can undermine the overall impact of environmental regulations and risk management strategies. 11. Regulatory complexity. Environmental regulations can constantly change, making it challenging to follow the latest guidelines. How can you help in environmental management? It becomes evident that our actions have far-reaching consequences. There is an urgency to address these environmental challenges. Climate change, biodiversity loss, and resource depletion require immediate attention and concerted efforts from individuals, communities, governments, and businesses. So, what can we do to make a positive impact? Here are some of the ways you can help in environmental management. 1. Pollution prevention. Global warming and access to clean water are vital global issues. You can help implement pollution prevention strategies. For instance, investing in renewable energy reduces reliance on fossil fuels, which increases carbon emissions. Avoiding single-use plastics and eco-friendly cleaning products can also reduce environmental pollution. 2. Waste reduction. Composting organic waste, repairing instead of replacing it, and investing in durable goods are great ways to reduce waste. This decreases the pressure on landfills, leading to healthier surroundings. 3. Resource conservation. Trees are essential in sustaining life. They attract rain and reduce carbon dioxide levels in the air. You can encourage your loved ones to join tree planting ceremonies and conserve non-renewable sources like electricity and water. 4. Create awareness. Educate ourselves and others about environmental issues, fostering a sense of responsibility and urgency. 5. Support sustainable practices. Advocate for and embrace sustainable practices in our daily lives, such as recycling, reducing waste, and conserving energy. 6. Engage in conservation efforts. Participate in local conservation projects and initiatives to protect natural habitats and biodiversity. 7. Support necessary policy changes. Encourage governments to implement policies promoting sustainability, renewable energy, and environmental protection. 8. Choose responsible businesses. Support companies committed to eco-friendly practices and ethical sourcing of resources. 9. Invest in green technologies. Promote and invest in green technologies that help mitigate environmental impacts. 10. Collaborate and share knowledge. Work together as a global community to share knowledge, solutions, and best practices. Solutions to environmental issues. Environmental issues are a matter of concern these days. People are becoming aware of the implications of environmental degradation in our daily lives. It has become essential to check the degradation and depletion of natural resources and pollution without halting the development process. Here are some of the possible solutions for the environmental issues. 1. Avoid single-use plastic. 2. Promoting clean and affordable energy. 3. Go for sustainable agriculture. 4. Reduce food waste. 5. Plant more trees and go paperless. 6. Promote green innovations. 7. Conserve water and electricity. 8. Use reusable products instead of disposable ones. 9. Recycle the waste to conserve the natural resources. And 10. Support local and environment-friendly practices. Lastly, let's discuss environmental risk and the management of environmental risks. Environmental risk and the management of environmental risks. Environmental risk refers to the potential adverse effects of human activities and natural processes on the environment, ecosystems, and human health. Managing environmental risks involves identifying, assessing, and mitigating these potential threats to ensure the sustainable use of natural resources and the protection of the environment. Let's explore the concept of environmental risk and the management of environmental risks with examples. 1. Environmental risk, air pollution. Emissions from industrial facilities, transportation, and other sources release pollutants into the air, leading to air pollution. This can result in respiratory problems, damage ecosystems, and contribute to climate change. Implementing stricter emission standards for industries, promoting cleaner technologies, and enhancing public transportation systems to reduce vehicle emissions are measures to manage air pollution risks. 2. Environmental risk, chemical contamination of water. Improper disposal of industrial chemicals or agricultural runoff can contaminate water bodies, affecting water quality and aquatic life. This poses risks to both ecosystems and human health. Implementing proper waste disposal practices, establishing water quality monitoring programs, and enforcing regulations on chemical use are measures to manage the risk of water contamination. 3. Environmental risk, deforestation. Clearing large areas of forests for agriculture, logging, or urban development contributes to deforestation. This can result in the loss of biodiversity, disruption of ecosystems, and increased carbon dioxide levels in the atmosphere. Implementing sustainable logging practices, reforestation efforts, and establishing protected areas to preserve biodiversity are measures to manage the environmental risk associated with deforestation. 4. Environmental risk, climate change. Human activities, primarily burning fossil fuels, contribute to the accumulation of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, leading to global warming and climate change. This poses risks such as extreme weather events, rising sea levels, and ecosystem disruptions. Transitioning to renewable energy sources, implementing energy efficiency measures, and participating in international agreements to reduce carbon emissions are strategies to manage the risks associated with climate change. 5. Environmental risk, soil erosion and degradation. Unsustainable agricultural practices, deforestation, and improper land management can lead to soil erosion and degradation. This negatively impacts soil fertility and water quality and contributes to the loss of arable land. Adopting conservation tillage practices, implementing erosion control measures, and promoting sustainable agricultural methods are ways to manage the environmental risks associated with soil erosion and degradation. 6. Environmental risk, industrial accidents. Accidents in industrial facilities, such as chemical spills or leaks, can release hazardous substances into the environment. This poses immediate risks to ecosystems, wildlife, and nearby communities. Measures for managing the risk of industrial accidents and their environmental impacts include implementing strict safety protocols, emergency response plans and regular inspections of industrial facilities. 7. Environmental risk, loss of biodiversity. Habitat destruction, pollution, climate change, and invasive species contribute to biodiversity loss, impacting ecosystems and reducing the resilience of natural communities. Establishing protected areas, implementing conservation programs, and conducting habitat restoration efforts are measures to manage the risk of biodiversity loss. 8. Environmental risk, waste generation. Description: improper waste disposal and excessive waste generation, especially non-biodegradable materials, contribute to environmental pollution and habitat degradation. Promoting recycling programs, implementing waste reduction strategies, and enforcing proper waste disposal practices are measures to manage the environmental risks associated with waste generation. 9. Environmental risk, over-extraction of natural resources. Excessive extraction of resources such as water, minerals, and fisheries beyond sustainable levels can lead to resource depletion, ecosystem disruption, and economic challenges. Implementing sustainable resource management practices, regulating extraction activities, and promoting conservation measures are strategies to manage over-extraction risks. 10. Environmental risk, urbanization and land use change. Rapid urbanization and changes in land use can lead to habitat loss, fragmentation, and increased resource demand, impacting ecosystems and biodiversity. Adopting innovative urban planning practices, preserving green spaces, and implementing zoning regulations to balance development and conservation are measures to manage the risks associated with urbanization and land use change. Effective environmental risk management. Effective environmental risk management entails a multifaceted approach combining prevention, mitigation, and adaptation strategies. Some essential practices include: 1. Environmental impact assessments. Before undertaking any project, assessing its potential environmental impacts allows for planning mitigation measures and minimizing harm. 2. Regulations and enforcement. Robust environmental regulations and effective enforcement mechanisms discourage harmful practices and encourage responsible resource management. 3. Environmental management systems, EMS. Implementing systematic approaches within organizations helps identify, monitor, and manage environmental risks across operations. 4. Sustainable technology and practices. Investing in cleaner technologies, renewable energy, and resource-efficient practices reduces environmental footprints and mitigates risks. 5. Conservation and restoration initiatives. Protecting existing ecosystems and restoring degraded habitats fosters resilience and helps mitigate the effects of climate change and other environmental disruptions. 6. Education and awareness. Raising public awareness about environmental issues and responsible practices encourages individual action and promotes community support for sustainable solutions. Challenges and opportunities of environmental risk management. Environmental risk management is a continuous journey requiring dedication, collaboration, and adaptation. By recognizing the risks, implementing effective strategies, and embracing the challenges, we can collectively safeguard our planet and build a more sustainable future for future generations. Managing environmental risks presents numerous challenges, such as resource constraints, complex regulations, and changing environmental dynamics, that unlock several opportunities, including: 1. Reduced environmental liabilities. Proactive risk management can prevent costly cleanups and legal penalties associated with environmental damage. 2. Enhanced public trust and stakeholder engagement. Demonstrating responsible environmental stewardship fosters trust and collaboration with stakeholders. 3. Innovation and economic opportunities. Developing sustainable solutions and green technologies can lead to economic growth and job creation. 4. Improved public health and well-being. Protecting the environment improves the quality of air, access to clean water, and overall well-being of communities. Conclusion. This video has discussed environmental risk and environmental risk management. It explained the management of environmental hazards. In summary, managing environmental risks involves a combination of regulatory measures, sustainable practices, technological innovations, and international cooperation. By addressing these risks proactively, societies can work towards balancing human activities and preserving the environment for current and future generations. Environmental risk management, ERM, is an increasingly important and complex field of study that works to identify, assess, and mitigate potential risks posed by environmental hazards. Environmental risks are complex and interrelated. Addressing these risks requires a multifaceted approach considering both the science and the social and economic factors involved. The management of environmental risks requires a combination of sustainable practices, regulatory measures, and global cooperation to promote conservation and responsible resource management. Initiatives focused on renewable energy, waste reduction, conservation of biodiversity, and sustainable development are essential to mitigate the impact of environmental risks. I hope this video is educative and beneficial to you. Please post your comments below in the comments section. If this video has been educative and beneficial, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Thank you for seeing the Solomon Fadun, Risk Management of Everything videos. I love to hear from you. Please post your comments and questions in the comment section below. If you are new here, subscribe to the channel, Solomon Fadun, Risk Management of Everything's channel, and press the notification button to be notified when new videos are uploaded. Thank you.